Today is May 30th. It's exactly 2 months since I moved into this homestead, into this house property, and have started working here. And today I want to do a walk through my garden and start on the far end where I usually hardly ever get to, mostly because I have not had a lot of time to develop here. So I want to start with this bed. You can see a lot of tomatoes here, as well as peppers. These peppers are poblano peppers, and you can see some nice blooms on them already. The tomatoes are different varieties. There are some small, some tutti frutti, some yellow prince. There is a lot of mortgage makers. That's the actual name of the tomato, mortgage maker. There is the tumbler. It's a small cherry tomato. You can see some of the tomatoes already actually have tomatoes on them, so in not too distant future we'll have brand new tomatoes. And there is another bed also that has tomatoes on them, but you can see they're just adapting. Some of them are still suffering. This has not been the best soil for them, but I put a lot of compost and a lot of fertilizer on the bottom right by the roots, so hopefully they will acclimate and they will start growing better. Here I have a mess of irises. They are pretty to bloom, quite nice color, but it is a hazard for me. I don't know yet what to do with this particular bed. It's flooded, so I need to figure out what to do with this. Here is a jungle. I don't know if you can see what I'm walking past. This is actually asparagus. This fern, huge fern. Let me pull it back up. I can only point toward it because it's over 8 feet tall, but it's leaning, and you can see how thick the stalk is. And it's not the only one, so you can see this one is nice and strong, already finished blooming. The one next to it is still blooming. So I'm gonna have a lot of asparagus seed. And it's still a jungle because I haven't had a chance to really do anything with this bed. Here is another problem child, another bed that I need to figure out what to do. It has been flooded. It's on purpose by the previous owners. The previous owner was conducting an experiment with water lilies and with aquatic plants. So there is a lot of stuff that he had put in, but I have no use for it, so I need to figure out what to do with this mess. Because right now all it is just a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Alright, so let me switch here. You can see the netting. I covered it up from the butterflies and from the pesky birds, because they tend to rip all of my plants apart. There are some small cabbages here. They're just growing, and some small peppers. It's a hodgepodge. I have peppers as well as eggplants in this row. So I have nice eggplants. They're growing quite nicely, but right next to them are peppers as well as small cabbages. I also put a few things of onions. Hopefully they will recover and grow. If not, that's okay. I have another bed of onions. This was just a filler just to distract from the pests. Here I have a bunch of corn. You can see it woke up, growing. This is the second time I planted corn here. The first time I planted, it was all ripped up by the birds. They stripped all of my corn. So luckily this one woke up, so I lost about a month of time. But it woke up and it's growing. In another week or so I'll take the netting off and let it grow naturally, as well as maybe we'll put some peas on the edge and a couple of watermelons, or maybe a pumpkin or something to grow in between this corn. That way the vines will cover the ground and it will not dry out as fast. As you can see, all of this is corn. On the other side I do have a few beans, so let me walk over there carefully so I don't step on my corn. So I do have some beans here. They're also being protected for the same reason. Birds stripped them completely. Most of the beans that I had planted on in other beds are gone. I have some more corn here. I also have some beets. So these are beans. I believe these are bush beans. And I have some beets, red beet root. So they're growing quite nicely all alone. There is also unfortunately a lot of weeds. So you can see where the birds try to get to them. But at the same time, I am still protecting them. They're not strong enough to survive on their own. Hopefully in time I will be able to open it up. But for now, all of this has to remain closed up. So coming here, I have a few plants of soybeans. This is soybeans. I actually love edamame, so I'm looking forward to harvesting it. Hopefully the birds will not strip it. And I have a few broccoli. You can see they're actually already formed. The heads are beginning to form. Here I'm losing battle with the cabbage worms. The broccolis have been attacked, as well as cabbages have been attacked. So you can see the damages. Again, here I have a hodgepodge. Same thing. I have a lot of cabbages. I have some peppers in between cabbages. Peppers will go up. I have a lot of sunflowers, so you can see how beautiful they are. They're growing quite nicely, strong. So the sunflowers are gonna go up. I need to figure out how to save my cabbages because they're being decimated by the worms. So all along the edge here, I'll have sunflowers. I do have a few peas here and there. Hopefully they will climb on top of the sunflowers. I also have cucumbers. So cucumbers are getting ready to climb. They're sending out little runners. So in another couple of weeks, I will need to provide some trellis for them. But for now, hopefully they will use these sunflowers to provide nice support for them. Let me walk on the other side. I still have quite a few plants on that side. You can see some seedlings still waiting to be replanted. It's been kind of cold and wet the last couple of days, but the previous month has been incredibly dry, so it's been a struggle. So I have more peppers here. You can see they're ready to be transplanted almost. I have a lot of watermelons, way past transplant stage. This is my ice cream bean tree, and it's growing quite nicely. All of this is new growth, so it has a lot of new growth on the outer sides. My pineapple unfortunately is not doing too great. It's setting out new shoots, new leaves from the center, but the outsides are definitely suffering. Maybe it was too cold for that, I don't know. And this is my papaya, growing quite nicely. Lots of young leaves coming from the center. So I'm looking forward to it actually growing a little bit better, but it's been sick for a long time. Alright, so going past all of this growth, again, same thing. We have sunflowers, as well as cabbages, as well as some beans, green peas, and some cucumbers. So again, I'm trying to interplant so that they can help each other as well as utilize every square inch. More watermelons that I need to plant. Achacha is not doing too great. I think it got shock from being moved from wherever it lived. But hopefully it will recover. I have a lot of Bloody William. These nice red flowers. Let me transfer to one spot. What I also want to show you, all the blackberries that are growing here. I actually have hedgerows of blackberries all around property, but they're hiding. And I have a lot of this, all of this needs to be ripped out. I have some wild mulberry here, and I have a lot of honeysuckle, but mostly it's the invasive rose and this Virginia creeper that are getting in the way. So these need to be removed. This wild rose needs to be removed. Eventually I will get to all of this, but not yet. I do want to show you the hostess that I have. They're amazing. Look at the size of these, just compared to my palm. And then I'm gonna pull back. Look at the size of the whole plant. It's at least 1 meter or 4 feet across. Incredible growth here. Right next, it's nice and happy in the shade of my greenhouse. Alright, so now we're back on the main path here. I've got more broccoli growing here. It's getting ready to set more. You can see it's setting more heads. So in another couple of weeks I'll have nice broccoli heads. The arash is doing quite well. This is a version of spinach. There are several of these. This is a head of lettuce. One of its varieties. I have multiple varieties of the other kind. And this is what I mean. These worms is what's eating all of my brassicas. Incredible pest. Okay, so I do have a few plants of peanuts. These are peanuts. So hopefully by the end of summer I will have a few peanuts that I'll be able to harvest. And right next to them, starting the rows of potatoes. Some potatoes came up late, but some are actually quite large. Sorry about the noise. Some of my neighbors are incredibly not thoughtful. So again, some of the potatoes are late. You can see they're just beginning to come up. They have been replanted because the original ones did not come up. They rotted. So I have these young ones. And then I have this forest that desperately needs to be hilled. So I ordered some bales of straw so I can put some straw around them and hill them with straw. Let's see. I have some blueberries here. They've been pretty picked by the birds, again stripped, but they're beginning to turn color. And that's my fig tree. Unfortunately, it's not producing any figs. It's not creating any blooms. Not sure why it's not happy. Alright, so here we have the first of the tomatoes. This is a large tomato, a beefsteak, I believe. So lots of blooms on it. Unfortunately, I missed when it divided, so I have 2 stalks instead of one that I usually prefer. But it does have nice growth. It's very healthy. You can see how thick it is. Lots of blooms on it. I have these ANA's strawberries that my sister sent me. They're kind of weak. It's their first year and they're not doing too great. And unfortunately, as you can see, the birds are helping themselves to it. They're pecking them off. This is what the birds do. So I'm fighting birds as well here. I do have some peppers here as well as some daikon plants. So these are daikons in between strawberries. Here are my peppers. I don't know if you can see, but they actually have peppers on them. This one is much larger. So peppers have formed. And here is another big tomato. Really large tomato plant. Nice and strong and healthy. And this one has a large tomato already formed on it. So in no time it will be tomato time. Alright, so I put these trellises for grapes. They're not doing too great. They are climbing, but this is not the kind of trellis I want to have. I figure for this year I'll let them climb on this and then take the time to build a proper trellis. I don't expect much from these grapes this year. You can see how weak they are. They should have been much stronger by now, but they're not. So hopefully I can rejuvenate these grape wines. And I don't know what the kind they are, but hopefully I'll find out because they do have blooms. So these are blooms for, meaning I'm gonna have nice grapes and they're beginning to form. Hopefully I will be able to protect it from the pesky birds and save some of these grapes so I can try them. I have this bed of onions that Jenny had planted. It's doing quite nicely. You can see the onions are getting nice and large. The stalks are forming quite nicely. They did have a big setback because we burned them with the compost. We didn't know the compost was hot. Here is another mess. It's already finished blooming for now. This is a rose. For a while it was covered in blooms, but I need to pull all of these dead heads and maybe send it into another bloom. I do have a lot of flowers here, and that's Sweet William. They're actually quite nice, beautiful colors. I have some lettuces here as well that Jenny scattered. They're struggling, but they're here. And of course the artichokes, they really took off finally. They're growing quite nicely. Nice strong plants. So I have quite a few of them. Also these few, this is asparagus. She also planted, so I'm not touching them this year, and probably for the next few years I will not touch them. But I'm gonna have quite a bit of asparagus here between the artichokes. Alright, so let's come here. This is another brassicas and eggplant bed. These are cauliflowers, and unfortunately cauliflower has been all but destroyed. You can see how much the worms are destroying it. I really need to, again, I just got back, so I need to clean it up. But in the meantime, I do have also the eggplants growing here. They're doing quite nicely. And some beans. I put different varieties. These are all bush beans, so they don't require trellising. And the beans are on the outside, on the perimeter, you can see. And all of the cauliflower are on the intermingled with the eggplant. There was one eggplant that was blooming, but I can't find which one it is right now. Oh well. Over here I want to show you, I started putting these mounds. These are mostly pumpkins or squashes. So this is a squash. You can tell by the leaves it's a squash. Next to it is a watermelon. If you're worried that watermelons and squashes are going to cross-pollinate, I'm actually going to send squash in one direction, and then watermelons are all going to go in that direction. So you can see another squash here. And more watermelons. And again, I'm going to put even more around here. The idea is to put these humps of compost where the watermelons will grow, and the vines will cover all the grass, so they will smother the weeds and smother the grass, and next year I'll be able to put nice wildflowers in here. Okay, and here's another forest I have. You can see tomatoes. They're forming. Some of them are really nice and large already. Large plants. Nice tomatoes formed already. Good, beautiful growth. In between them, I have a row of peas. They've been growing for a while, and the tomatoes are actually protecting the peas from the harsh sun. So for a while we had temperatures in the 90s, and usually peas don't do well in that. But these are still thriving. You can see they're forming. And like I said, lots of tomatoes formed already. I have a nice cabbage here. The head is formed, so it's growing, and again, problem with these worms. The worms are getting into everything, but hopefully I can save this one. And there is a beautiful tomato set there. So again, lots of tomatoes here. There are different varieties. One thing I'm gonna have a lot this year, and that's gonna be tomatoes. So I want to show you one of the problems I found here. See this path? That's a wall. So I have going underground moles and voles, and they dig these paths. So another pest problem that I need to figure out how to control. I have one sunflower here. It's getting ready to bloom. Has a nice bloom beginning to form. And I do have a lot of lettuces here. Look at these. These are beautiful, gorgeous heads of lettuce. They are beginning to bolt. It's been just too hot. So you can see nice growth. But they don't like hot temperatures. 90 degrees weather is not good for lettuce. And again, more tomatoes here. I need to clear out some of this again. While I've been away, a lot of suckers have formed. You can see these are suckers. So this one normally would not be here because I would pull it off, but I was too late. And it's now too big. If I try and pull it off, the plant will go into shock. So, same thing here. A lot of suckers are forming. You can see how they're growing. I don't like when my tomatoes are not going in a single line. It takes a lot of energy from the plant. But because I have so many of them this year, it's not a problem. You can see again beautiful formations. These are going to be large tomatoes, very large tomatoes. And more peas here. Not quite ready to pick, but getting close. Alright, so transferring here, I have more onions here. These are from the sets as opposed to seeds. You can see how nice and strong they are. These are much stronger than the ones that are from the seeds. You can see the greenery is much stronger, which is great, because what it's going to do is when the greenery is ready to die, it will all go into forming the actual bulb of the onion. So hopefully I'll have some onions for the winter time. I do have a nice selection of flowers that I planted here. These are wildflowers. I'm keeping this area strictly dedicated to herbs and to pollinators. So I have a lot of herbs here. You can see my oregano is getting ready to bloom. It's full of bloom. And thyme has been blooming like crazy, which is great for pollinators. It's attracting them here. Just exactly what I want. I want to provide food for the pollinators. So a few more watermelons here. These are not doing too great yet. They've only been planted about a week and a half ago. But these are huge pumpkins. And you can see how big they are getting. So these are thriving and doing really well. I'm hoping to have really nice, at least a couple of pumpkins from these. This is a nice variety, large blue pumpkins. Alright, so let me show you another problem that I have here. Well, it's not exactly a problem, but in some ways it is. This is my area for dill and for strawberries. And I've been picking strawberries for a while here. But the problem I found is when I came back, all of these were supposed to be strawberries. This is what happens when the birds got to them. And I'll show you one in progress. Oh, and there are some flowers that my sister had planted. But let me show you what birds are doing to the strawberries. See? This is their work. They get to a strawberry that's ripe and they just peck at it. They don't go for the green ones, but they only go for the ripe ones. So I came home to a lot of destroyed strawberries that I had to pick out. And Jenny, here is your flowers. They are growing quite nicely. Alright, and I still have a lot of seedlings that my sister just sent home with me. I just got home. So I have these trays. Most of these are Oxheart varieties. They're nice and strong. Some of them already have tomatoes on them, so they're way overdue to be planted. There's also some peppers, also with peppers already formed. And you can see tomatoes already formed on these. So I'm gonna finish this video. I'm gonna show you these varieties and I'm gonna get back to work to plant these, because it's a lot of planting. And I do have some peppers here that I planted from seed and they need to be transplanted soon. Alright, so let me pause here and we're gonna walk over to the forest. So here I am by the white mulberry. Unfortunately, birds are stripping it completely because they do like it. But the white mulberry is the one that silkworms are fed on. So if I wanted to have silkworms, I can. But I also have another variety here, and it's a lot more colorful. They're just beginning to turn color here. The black ones are the ripe ones. Beautiful mulberry. These are a little bit more sour than the white, but you know, when they fall like this, that's when they're fully ripe. You touch them and they fall off. So these are beautiful mulberries, and you can see the color of this tree as it turns. Unfortunately, the birds also love them. So that's another one that I'm fighting with birds for, trying to save at least some of them, because mulberry is one of my favorite fruits, or berries I should say. So I usually don't show this side. So here we are over by my peach. This is a flat disc peach, or whatever it's called, the donut. You can see I've covered some of them. They're covered in protective pockets, but you can see what they look like. And there are quite a few peaches up there, up on top, but I have not gotten to them yet. Let's see if I can zoom in. There we go. So lots of peaches up there. Hopefully I can gather at least some of them before the birds get all of them. Like I said, I protected a few just in case. I do have a few apples, very few apples. I protected one just to make sure that it gets nice and big, but there are others that are growing next to it. So I have no idea what kind of apple this is, but hopefully I'll find out. So here is another mulberry here, and unfortunately I did not put anything in beneath it, but I want to show you what happens. You can see how many of them fallen down. It's actually hard to see, but it's like I'm walking on a carpet of mulberry. It's actually tragic for me. I should have put some kind of canvas or something so they would fall on it. But looking up, you can see it's covered in mulberries here. And again, it's the same problem. The birds get to them and they start stripping them off. But a few of them I can get to. So, like these. So we walked past the apple and the mulberries. There is another mulberry right here. I'm actually quite happy that I have so many of them here. I mean, look at these colors. It's amazing. To me, this makes my heart sing. And there is another white one next to it. So this one is actually interesting because it cross-pollinated with the black one next to it. And the fruit, instead of pure white, turns this interesting color when it's ripe. Here. So when these are ripe, they turn violet color, but it's not pure. It's actually white mulberry. It's not black. Let me show you some of these pears. I do have a lot of pears this year. I have no idea what kind of varieties that this is. But if you look at the tree, it's covered in pears. And I mean truly covered. Nice and big pears. And again, it's hard to show because they hide against the leaves. But you can see them. So if nothing else, I'll have pears this year. I have no idea what kind they are, but I look forward to finding out. So now, let's walk over to the other side of the pond and I'll show you the progress in the orchard. So before I go to the other side where the orchard is, I want to show you why. So right next to the entrance here, I do have another entrance. You can see inside I do have a chicken coop. People have been telling me, oh, this is not a homestead, you don't have anything. Well, not yet. And again, keep in mind, I've only been here for 2 months. Eventually, things will change. But I do have a chicken coop in the woods, or right on the edge of it, nice and ready and waiting for chickens. So now we are on this side. I'm going to show you another progress on my blueberries. You can see that my bushes are covered in blueberries, so I'm looking forward to harvesting these. I do have a few additions. I have a couple of more loquat trees that I need to plant. Jenny sent me a couple of her pineapple trees or pineapple bushes and some more seedlings. Oh, and I do have carrots. I have 2 things of carrots that I had just planted. They finally came up and growing. You see the raspberry is beginning to bloom. So I'm gonna have some raspberries, more carrots, more blueberries. These are Jenny's flowers, Lisianthus. Another cabbage head and a couple more grapevines. I want to show you another blackberry here. It's been blooming and forming fruit. A lot of flowers are growing here. I have some of the irises left over, but also all of the dahlias that Jenny planted. They are growing really nicely, and you can see how nice they are. So it's getting dark, and I hope it's still going to show everything. I have a few more flowers that Jenny sent, as well as mock orange that needs to be transplanted, and a few more wild persimmons. These are the American persimmons, as well as some lemongrass. I just brought it over. These slips are sweet potatoes. I also need to plant them. Again, I just got home from her place with a new addition, and a new apple tree that I just got out of my car. This is a Honeycrisp apple, so I need to find a place for it and transplant it. And here we are in my orchard. So I've got a new addition here. I actually have 3 of them. These are the figs, the yellow figs, I believe. No, these are the brown ones, the Chicago Hardy ones. There is another one there, and another peach that has been added. This one has small peaches, but I'm not gonna let it have any. It's too early. We just planted this tree. If I let it go, it's gonna waste all of its energy. But it did form peaches, which is nice. So I'm going to show you. So I know it was blooming, it formed peaches. I know it will be producing next year, but for this year I'm not going to let it have any fruit. Before I go further, so here is another fig growing. This was my birthday present from Jenny. She sent it to me. Let me show you quickly some of the flowers she has. She has amazing delphiniums that she planted, and the colors are astonishing. Absolutely gorgeous. There are the whites and the purples. But look at this. Stunning colors. And there is bright blue. So lots of flowers and more to come because there are more growing. Also, some of her lilies are waking up and beginning to form buds. So all of these are going to be blooming soon. And I'm going to have quite a few of lilies. You can see they're formed. Alright, back to my orchard. So again, here, starting from this side, I have my hazelnut. I need to plant another row here. So right now, this row right here, this is the last row before the poles. So I'm gonna move about another 6-7 feet and put another row, a hedgerow of the hazelnut. Hazelnut requires more than one plant to pollinate and to produce. Have this beautiful Belle of Georgia peach. It was suffering for a while from transplant, but it's beginning to come back to life. And of course my chocolate persimmon, doing really well. Lots of new growth. Beautiful, doing really well. I have my, sorry for the grass, but apparently my lawn mowers, people do not know how to mow without killing my trees. So I have this pineapple guava, also known as fei shua or fei hua, growing quite nicely. I have some pears here. Again, lots of new growth, doing really well. So this is a row of pears. I have some plums going that direction. I have a few apples. Let's see. This is a pink lady apple. You see a lot of new growth, and the problem again, birds. They strip all of the young leaves. It's been a nightmare with them. I have another Honeycrisp here. This one is doing quite nicely. So another plum over there. Another big apple tree. This is my almond. Unfortunately, my 3-in-1 plum did not survive. And I have no idea what went wrong, but it died. You can see it's all dead. I need to dig it out and plant a new one. Alright, so I have more plums here. You can see nice young growth. So next year I'm looking forward to lots of plums. This one was blooming this year, but I didn't let it set any fruit. And another plum. You can see the variety. Oh, this is actually apricot. Oh, I think this is a plum. Okay, I guess I'll find out when it fruits. Another cherry tree, doing quite nicely. And here is another cherry, again growing very well. Ran out of space on the other card and transferring to this one. This is a Meyer lemon. It's also growing quite nicely. I have 2 more oranges that are growing. You can see nice young growth. These are also navel oranges. I have a couple of lemons or limes, whatever they are. They're recovering. They were really sick for a long time, and they finally started blooming. They're not forming fruit yet. Well, one of them did, but it fell off. But they are blooming, so they are on their path to recovery. I have this cold hardy avocado that's finally beginning to recover. You can see new growth. It was also very sick for a long time. And I have this banana plant that's really decrepit for some reason. I don't know why. But it did send a whole bunch of new shoots from the bottom. So it's growing, it's healthy. I don't know what this disease is that's eating it. You can see it's growing young, but it's already sick. So for whatever reason, I don't know what's happening to it, but even the young shoots that are growing, they're already affected. If you know what disease this is on the banana plant, please let me know so I can fix it. I'd like to have my trees healthy. I'd like to have at least try one banana growing. But I also have 2 new trees that my sister sent me, also for my birthday. One of them is tangerine pomelo, nice growing, and it has a young pomelo on it. So I'm looking forward to growing this one, as well as mandarin orange. So lots of small tangerines all throughout. I am excited by this little plant. It's short, but it's loaded with fruit. And I almost forgot my gooseberries. My gooseberries are progressing really nicely. They're beginning to change color. Still a little firm, but there are quite a few of them. And there's a lot of young growth, so there's going to be more production for next year. And again, a lot more work to do to plant all of these tomatoes and peppers and find space for everything and start healing these potatoes. So I thank you for joining me on this night. Again, it's been an interesting 2 months development. A lot of work has gone into putting all of this together. Mostly has been concentrating on this side. There's a lot more work to do, but it's definitely fun, and it's keeping me more than busy and more than active. Of course, the challenge will be cleaning everything behind me, or behind all of this forest edge, getting rid of the underbrush, turning it into a real homestead. A lot of planning that has to happen, a lot of killing weeds, setting new soil, and hopefully it will be a nice productive homestead. So thank you for joining me tonight, and until next time.